School to Newcastle on DAB across London and around the globe at colourfulradio.com.
The key question we're asking this morning, people, is Britain a fairer place today than it was yesterday? And there are lots of young people out there who probably be asking themselves the same thing. You know, people who've been encouraged to work hard at school, to invest in their future, to go to university, etc., maybe to look at apprenticeships. Many of them will have followed the budget. Some of them will have been switched off. But the question is, what is there out there for them? Well, let's talk to Richard Strudwick, who is an enterprise education specialist, and he's on the line. Richard, good morning to you.
Good morning, Henry. Morning, Juju.
Morning.
What do you think then, when you look at that budget? I mean, the Chancellor was on his feet for about an hour or so, and then when he sat down, he was applauded from his right by David Cameron and then ignored from his left by Nick Clegg. But what were you saying? Were you applauding on behalf of the young people that you speak to up and down the country?
Well, I'd say I kind of, when he stood up and George Osborne said that young people were very important for the future, I did get my hopes up, but I noted that the talk about young people lasted less than about 30 seconds altogether. There wasn't much, to be honest, for young people. Only 4 major things that I noted down. However, one of those 4 is potentially well worth talking about. So, just to run through them quickly, there was no increase in minimum wage for young people, which I think was a bit of a disappointment for those out there who have managed to get themselves a job at the moment. And we know there are more than 1 million unemployed 16 to 24-year-olds.
I think it went up for adults by about, 11p, is that right? 11p an hour, I think.
Yeah, but not for those who are 16 to 18, unfortunately. There were more apprenticeships noted, and the government will push further forward on apprenticeships, which is positive. And the increase in the tax threshold is a good thing. As young people start to earn money, the fact that they can get over £9,000 before having to pay tax is very positive, I think, going forwards. But the big announcement really was the Youth Enterprise Loan Scheme, which the Chancellor agreed to put £10 million into piloting the loan scheme over the next sort of 12 months or so.
How would that work? Is that a bit like the Prince's Trust? I mean, you get this money and you get encouragement, if you've got a good idea, but you don't have to pay it back. Or is it a genuine loan? It's not a grant, it's a genuine loan.
To that, actually, the idea was come up with through Virgin Media Pioneers and the National Youth Enterprise Working Group, which is a group of different organisations who all operate in the same youth enterprise space. And the idea is to reflect a similar sort of way that the student loans are offered to students who go to university. The idea is to reflect that if students wanted to start up their own business instead of going to university, to try and offer them a loan at similar, very low rate, very low repayment rates, and maybe even tie the repayment rates to the amount of money they get in the future, in the same way that with a university student loan, you don't have to pay back the money until you are making enough money for it to be sensible to pay back.
What do you think the take-up will be on that? I mean, how much appetite is there among young people to kind of take up this kind of loan and the promise that, look, you won't have to pay much back, and if you do, it'll be a very, very low rate, so the actual loan term?
Well, I think that's a great question. The details of it haven't come out yet, so it's difficult to say how those loan terms will work. The idea is to try and reflect the interest rate in student loans for university. So I guess at the very least it will put that awareness into young people's minds that potentially instead of going to university they might want to start up their own business. And it is a £10 million pilot, so although in the big scheme of things £10 million isn't a huge amount of money, that does hint that the government are quite keen to look at this in a serious way and start to see how many young people they could get engaged. For me, I think the big thing is that this needs to run alongside an effort to try and get more young people to develop their enterprise and innovation skills generally. Because the output at the end is potentially getting young people to start up their own business. But unless the effort is made at the beginning to develop practical enterprise skills amongst the young people, then you're not creating a pipeline of people who are going to be keen to do it. And from the young people I work with, there are lots who do feel they're interested in starting up their own business, but question whether they have the right skills and the right application to make it happen. So we're seeing less and less in secondary education push towards developing those kind of softer enterprise skills.
Well, during my time, and I'm in my mid-40s, Richard, I mean, there was nothing whatsoever. It was pure chalk and talk, Latin, it was French, German, the sciences, the religion and history and whatever. We were given nothing whatsoever. When is the best time to try and introduce these skills to the youngsters, and how much do they get? You say they don't get that much at the moment in school, but clearly more than they did 20 or 25 years ago.
Well, yes, they do, yeah. So I think that's a very good question. Primary schools are looking at doing more enterprise work, which has led to some interesting debates about what we mean by enterprise, because obviously at the younger age, we're not trying to talk to young people about potentially running their own business, but by getting young people to make and sell cookies or cakes or engage in an activity where they have to use their teamwork, their creativity, their problem solving, you're starting to develop those skills. And more importantly, you're starting to develop that positive attitude towards being proactive and making a difference for yourself. So the key area really is supporting, the Department for Business will support it at 16 plus. So there is enterprise in FE and enterprise in HE being pushed. But the 11 to 16 and 11 to sort of 19 age group is getting less enterprise support than it used to, at least in England. I know that in Wales and Scotland it's still a strong push.
Just wondering whether you think programmes like The Apprentice and Dragon's Den help to kind of pull the young people into the idea of entrepreneurship.
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. I think there's a split debate, really. The idea of The Apprentice and Dragon's Den very much push enterprise up the agenda. People are much more aware of enterprise entrepreneurship as a possibility, but they are entertainment television shows. So
hey, Richard, you're not a fan then, you're not a fan.
As a harsh world rather than one where actually people are collaborative and help together, which is what the world of enterprise is really like.
Richard, thank you very much indeed. I know that you're very busy going up and down the country trying to teach these skills to youngsters, and let's hope some of the seeds fall on fertile ground, okay?
Yeah, thanks very much, Henry. Thanks. It's great to speak to you.
Brilliant, you too. Richard Strudwick there. He is an enterprise education specialist, live on Breakfast. The time is 8:30. Juju, water everywhere, but not a drop to drink. Today is a big day for water around the world. We're supposed to be thinking about it. And of course, in this country, from next month, I think there's a prospect of a hosepipe ban in the south and east of England.